Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of the View co-host Sonny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
For more, we go to our chief Sonny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Sonny Hostin thought the worst was over until Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus crashed in like a wrecking ball of wit and unleashed pure fire across the stage. Her husband's $450 million 0 cents courtroom meltdown, that was just the warm-up. What came next was a roast so brutal it could have scorched through solid steel. Gutfeld hit every nerve without blinking. And Sonny? Her frozen stare could have won Best Performance in a Live Meltdown. But what shocking twists sent this media circus into overdrive? The courtroom chaos went even deeper than anyone guessed. And the fallout? It shook the entire room like an earthquake. Have a look.
Only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And you know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
For years, Sonny Hostin marched onto the View like a courtroom queen. Gavel in one hand, moral fire in the other. She didn't just talk, she judged. One slip up and you were exiled like a brunch criminal. But now, karma didn't knock. It barged in, waving a lawsuit on fire. The self-proclaimed justice warrior was suddenly starring in her own legal nightmare. A jaw-dropping $450 million 0 cents scandal. And the surprise co-lead? Her very own husband.
Or man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day, that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, you know, Emily.
Cue the irony, grab the popcorn. Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus fired up their sarcasm like they were aiming to roast Mount Olympus itself. For years, Sonny made a career out of outrage, gasping on cue, throwing shade, and handing out moral lectures like candy. But now, with her husband wrapped in a financial disaster so massive it makes FTX look like a lemonade stand, she's suddenly whispering about privacy and begging for due process? Unbelievable. The same voice that shouted down every conservative slip is now begging the world to mind their own business.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sonny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sonny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sonny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe.
When others were drowning in scandal, Sonny threw judgments like glitter at a drama parade. But now that her own husband's caught in the flames, total silence. The woman who never missed a chance to deliver courtroom lectures suddenly disappeared into the fog of her own mess? And right on cue, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus showed up, loaded with enough sarcasm to short-circuit a power grid. They didn't just point out the double standard, they sunk their teeth into it like it was a sizzling steak. This wasn't a critique, it was a fiery satire feast, and Sonny was the main course.
Makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
The timing couldn't have been more explosive. Greg Gutfeld, master of takedowns, looked like he was throwing a celebration live on air. And Tyrus? He may as well have brought marshmallows to toast over the smoldering ruins of Sonny's reputation. This $450 million 0 cents mess detonated like a bomb. Claims of financial disaster so massive, Enron seemed like a typo in comparison. Mismanagement? Fraud? The accusations stacked up quicker than a View meltdown over Trump. But Sonny? She froze. Her fiery voice turned to static. The woman who once sliced up lawsuits like a legal eagle now clung to no comment like a rescue rope. Gutfeld made his segment a full-blown roast. Hypocrisy was the main course, and it was served sizzling.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead...
Let's be honest. If hypocrisy were an Olympic event, Sonny just won the gold by a mile. Gutfeld tore into the double standard like a kid ripping open mayhem on Christmas morning. And right behind him was Tyrus, flashing that grin while sharpening his verbal sword. When he struck, it was brutal. Each line cut through Sonny's fragile moral shield like butter. He didn't just highlight the scandal, he ripped apart the smugness, exposed the fake virtue, and left her image in shambles. The Queen of Outrage had dropped her crown, and Tyrus didn't hesitate to toss it straight into the flames. And the rest of The View? Frozen solid. Joy Behar looked like she'd seen a ghost. Whoopi Goldberg didn't even blink. The same crew that once exploded over a conservative misstep suddenly forgot how to speak. That silence, it thundered louder than any rant they've ever screamed.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler. They call these things. America rejected them, and instead of coming back and saying we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball to Sonny.
But when a $450 million 0-cent scandal hits one of their own, suddenly it's all whispers about context and nuance. How convenient. Meanwhile, the internet exploded. Memes shot across timelines like fireworks. Twitter didn't just roast Sonny, it turned her into a walking bonfire. Gutfeld didn't blink. He zoomed out and hit an even bigger target. The elite media bubble, the one where public figures shout accountability, but only when it's someone else's problem. That moral high ground, it crumbled beneath Sonny's designer heels like cheap pavement. Gutfeld slammed The View for its sudden case of selective muteness. Where did all that noise about truth vanish to? And Tyrus? He unleashed a one-liner so dry it could wilt a forest. He laughed at the madness. Sonny, dishing legal wisdom one day, allegedly defending a financial mess the next. Her moral compass, it's spinning like a tilt-a-whirl in a lightning storm.
End of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing. One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any is she said, well, I guess that's just what they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before.
And the most unbelievable part, The View pretended it never even happened. Not a peep, not a whisper. They'll break down a celebrity breakup for 30 minutes straight, but when a $450 million 0-cent scandal crashes into Sonny's world, radio silence. Was it grace or just flat out fear? You be the judge. Gutfeld closed the segment with a mic drop soaked in sarcasm and pure gold. He slyly hinted that maybe, just maybe, Sonny should stop by his show to talk accountability. The offer was dripping in shade, dark enough to eclipse the sun, and Tyrus, he stared straight into the camera with a smug grin that said, didn't I call this? But here's the real kicker. This isn't just Sonny's scandal, it's a mirror held up to the entire media circus. These talking heads shout about justice until the heat's on them. Then truth takes a backseat to full-blown damage control. They quote the law like it's gospel until their own rules fall apart like scribbles on a cocktail napkin. Check it out, I will be right back.
It's not even that. And The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the 2 racists. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and the, was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back.
Sonny's defenders came charging in, shouting, she's not responsible for her husband's mess. Sounds reasonable at first, but let's not forget, this is the same woman who spent years picking apart her political opponents' families like a solo detective show. And now she wants grace? That's not just a double standard, it's a mountain-sized hypocrisy sandwich served with a heaping side of denial. And guess what? This storm's just warming up. More bombshells are sure to drop, and Sonny might have to do more than just sip tea and sulk during commercial breaks. Maybe she'll deliver a polished apology or disappear on a sabbatical to nowhere. One thing's crystal clear, her credibility didn't just crack, it went up in flames. And The View, let's not act like it was ever a temple of journalistic virtue. This scandal ripped the mask off for good. What's left is a crew of talk show performers spinning like characters in a political soap opera, desperate to protect their own. Looking for honesty, accountability, you won't find it here. These hosts could trip over their own contradictions and still point fingers at Republicans. Self-awareness? Humor? Growth? Please. That's about as likely as Sonny reading her husband's charges live on set.
That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
If The View had a panic mute button, Sonny Hostin smashed it with such force it probably left a dent in the table. Because this time, everything she built was on the line. The same woman who once unleashed endless rants on politics, injustice, or even a stray tweet now couldn't manage a single sentence about a $450 million 0 cents legal disaster starring her own husband. Just a coincidence? Sure. And maybe pigs just signed a fashion deal. Her fierce lectures? Vanished. Her legal lingo? Gone, Sonny. Usually a fireball of outrage suddenly turned into a blinking frozen error message on live TV. Viewers watched in disbelief as she fumbled through cue cards like they were crime scene clues, giving a performance that felt more like a soap opera than a talk show. Every awkward sip from her giant mug must have plotted 9 hours of sleep. She developed a secret coast framer, which they saw every time she took a SOFO, and all the time, she never saw the opera and went crazy. Every robotic glance shouted one desperate plea: please don't bring up the courtroom chaos in my own house. Her body language screamed in silence, arms crossed like a financial audit, shoulders locked like they were courtroom chairs. One moment she's nodding like a professor grading papers. The next, she's staring upward like her innocence just floated off the set.
She is shaming descendants of this. Will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny. She is so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea who she was.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
Between Whoopi's exhausted sighs and Joy Behar's never-ending rambles, Sonny sat there, frozen, like someone had just flashed her husband's bail paperwork across the teleprompter. And every time the conversation tiptoed near words like corruption or scandal, she suddenly found the floor absolutely fascinating. Her face said it all. Get me out of here, now. It was as if she believed if she stared long enough at the carpet, it might open up and save her from the spotlight. And Greg Gutfeld, he caught every awkward shift, every fake smile, because let's be honest, Gutfeld misses nothing. Normally, Sonny would leap in with a loud, actually, that's not how due process works. But now, the only thing she was defending was her poker face. Too bad due process just rang her doorbell, and this time, it's personal. The same woman who once shouted her way through every debate now looked like a live-action screensaver, blinking, sipping, and hoping no one said her name. Viewers were glued, just waiting for her to blurt out objection, maybe even at herself. But that silence, it wasn't calm, it was panic, frozen in real time.
Anna went in a different direction. But I love the fact that, you know, Manny is younger and he's
How much younger is he? Just a little bit.
He's like 1 year, isn't he?
Like a month or a year or 10 years?
5 years.
It's more than a year.
Oh.
Anyway, it's not about me. I think.
Oh, no.
I think that it's very helpful that he's handy, and when we travel, I'm not picking up any bags. He's the one that's hefting them overhead. He throws the garbage out. He does the heavy stuff.
Sorry, Sonny, but Karma doesn't care for closing arguments, and while she clutched that coffee mug like it held her last shred of control, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus delivered the guilty pleasure no one saw coming, but everyone enjoyed. In a world drowning in fake virtue and double standards, watching one of the loudest voices suddenly go mute wasn't just satisfying, it was poetic justice with a punchline. Will Sonny make a comeback? Probably. The View adores a redemption arc, if it fits their script. She might even spin this whole meltdown into a TED Talk called How I Survived Public Humiliation with Grace. But until that day, the internet isn't letting go. The memes are flying, the laughter's echoing, and Gutfeld and Tyrus, they'll keep circling this mess like vultures with punchlines, because when you build a brand handing out moral sentences, it's only a matter of time before Judgment Day knocks at your own door. And for Sonny, that gavel didn't just land, it shattered the smug right off her image. So next time The View serves up another sermon in self-righteousness, just remember, sometimes the loudest voices choke hardest, especially when Gutfeld and Tyrus are holding the receipts and the mic.